I'm Naomi, 28, and I've been married to Tony for 3 years now. Tony is the second son of the family that owns the prestigious Classic Hotel. People often tease me, saying, "So, you're going to run a hotel?" But in truth, it's Tony's older brother and his wife who are in charge of managing everything. Tony works on the support staff, helping wherever needed. With my in-laws' encouragement, I've kept my job at the bank I was working at before we got married. My sister-in-law jokes that I'll be handling the finances when it's our turn to take over. So I've been studying bookkeeping to prepare for the future. Though I don't often visit, the Classic Hotel is exclusive and has a reputation for exceptional hospitality. Before we got married, as a gesture of goodwill, my family was invited to stay at the hotel. My family's background is much simpler. We mostly took camping trips when I was younger. My parents and grandparents were excited but nervous about staying at such a high-end place, now that we were related to the owners. But the experience was flawless. The food, service, and overall hospitality were all first class. My in-laws and the staff treated us so well, and it was an unforgettable experience for all of us. That visit gave me a deeper appreciation for Tony and his family, and it made me realize the responsibility I now carry as part of this remarkable family. I felt determined to be a supportive wife and never embarrass them. However, my brother Tom saw our connection to the hotel in a different light, always one for ambition and impressing others. He seemed to enjoy flaunting his new family ties. After my wedding, my in-laws invited us back to the hotel to enjoy their famous steak. While my parents remained their usual humble selves, Tom started to push boundaries. He began demanding room upgrades and additional dishes at meals, even ordering drinks that weren't included. He would tell the staff, "I'm a relative of the owners. Don't you recognize this person?" while pointing at me. I was mortified. "Tom, stop, this is embarrassing," I pleaded, but he insisted on calling Tony to fulfill his unreasonable requests. Reluctantly, I called Tony, who kindly agreed to accommodate Tom's demands. My parents and I were horrified at Tom's behavior. Afterward, my mom suggested we decline future invitations out of respect, even though the rest of us had done nothing wrong. It was all because of Tom's entitlement. I apologized profusely to Tony, but he brushed it off with a laugh. My in-laws were equally understanding, even upset to hear my parents now felt uncomfortable visiting. They are incredibly generous people. Unfortunately, Tom took this kindness as permission to go even further. About a year into my marriage, Tom got married and, instead of normal wedding gifts, demanded hotel vouchers. I refused, but that didn't stop him and his wife from showing up at the hotel unannounced on long weekends. He'd pull up in his small car, drop Tony's name at the entrance, and expect VIP treatment, in stark contrast to the other guests, who parked their luxury cars and walked in. Tom's sense of entitlement grew with every visit. He'd declare, "I'm family, you can't be fully booked for me. Is this hotel so poorly run that it can't find a room for important guests?" Tony and my in-laws always stepped in, finding a way to accommodate him, often at great inconvenience. Tom even demanded private access to the spa for him and his wife, disrupting other guests. His rowdy behavior and drunken antics would spoil the peaceful atmosphere of the hotel. Tom's arrogance began to harm the hotel's reputation, leaving Tony to deal with the aftermath time and time again. Yet, I'm incredibly grateful to Tony and my in-laws for managing Tom's antics every time. Often, I only find out about his surprise visits afterward, and I immediately panic, calling Tom to confront him, but he just brushes it off with a laugh, saying, "Don't sweat the small stuff. It's great that my sister married into such a good family." His ridiculous demands seem endless, and he refuses to listen to reason. One holiday, Tom and his wife made another unannounced visit, this time during the busiest season. Their crude behavior stood out, drawing cold stares from other guests, but they remained oblivious. It led to a string of negative feedback in guest surveys and online reviews. One bad review seemed to snowball into others, lowering the hotel's rating. Longtime regulars, noticing the preferential treatment Tom received, started distancing themselves, their trust in the hotel shaken. Watching Tony and my father-in-law, William, struggle to manage the situation left me feeling guilty and powerless, wishing I could stop Tom from causing more damage. It's easier to refuse Tom over the phone when he calls for a reservation, but when he and his wife show up unannounced, we're left with little choice. During another holiday rush, with the hotel fully booked, they arrived again. The only room available was one of the older, less used rooms. Tom was clearly dissatisfied, and to my shock, he wrote a scathing review online, complaining that despite being a regular, he was given an old, dark, and dirty room. In his post, he wrote, "Came here looking forward to a relaxing stay, but the room was dusty and the worst I've ever seen. The service was awful, and the food wasn't good either. This hotel's reputation has gone to its head, and they don't value their guests anymore." I was livid. They had shown up without a reservation, stayed for free, and yet had the audacity to complain publicly like this. I knew the review was written by Tom, but we had no concrete proof. Later that night, I received a smug message from him. "Did you see that bad review? So stupid, right?" William, forced to manage the situation, wrote a diplomatic apology online, offering to make their next stay exceptional. I felt so ashamed of Tom that I didn't even want to acknowledge him as my brother. Frustrated, I suggested to Tony, let's post the truth, that this review was written by Tom, the owner's son, who showed up without a reservation, didn't pay a cent, and stayed in a room that's rarely used. Let's let the internet users criticize him for us. I suggested to Tony and my in-laws, we can't do that, it could backfire and lead to attacks against you. My father-in-law shared my concern, emphasizing how damaging bad rumors could be in the hospitality industry. Meanwhile, Tom seized the opportunity to assert his influence. He contacted William, saying, I'll be bringing a very important guest next time, so make sure we're treated like royalty. You know what might happen if there are any mishaps, right? His tone was threatening, as if he considered himself untouchable. When did Tom become such a despicable person? His entitlement began when he started frequenting a hotel that was far beyond his status. I regretted ever inviting him, believing it would simply be a life experience for him. Understandably, this time both Tony and William were furious. Employee dissatisfaction was reaching a breaking point, and they couldn't tolerate Tom's behavior any longer. My parents and I apologized for all the trouble he had caused and assured them that he wouldn't be a nuisance moving forward. We told them to take any necessary action if we couldn't stop Tom. We reached out to Tom, hoping to address his behavior. When we confronted him, he shrugged and said, I came because you told me I could visit anytime. Why are you upset? Offering family services is normal. He refused to acknowledge the seriousness of his actions. I explained, even my mother-in-law and sister-in-law's relatives stay at regular rates. His ignorance was infuriating. Ignoring our concerns, Tom and his wife brought the president of a client company to the hotel, apparently intending to impress him. The audacity. The president was accompanied by their spouse and daughter's family. Tom was thrilled, believing he could secure a contract through this encounter. I secretly observed as Tony had requested, but I felt like grabbing Tom by the collar and tossing him out. As the day progressed, Tony and William escorted the president's family to a nice room. Tom then demanded, not just for us, make this stay free for our guests too, okay? This is business entertainment. If I can impress the president here, my performance at work will improve. You understand, right? I'm counting on you. You know what will happen if anything goes wrong, right? He even threw in a veiled threat. The Tom I used to know was ambitious yet grounded. When did he become someone who resorted to threats? I considered involving the police, but Tony and William reassured me, saying, Naomi, it's not your fault, just act normally. Trusting their judgment, we decided to see how things would unfold. Then came dinner time. Tom behaved as if it were his own hotel. Our cuisine is exceptional. You're in for a treat, he announced smoothly, ushering the president's family to their seats. My brother and his wife appeared to be reveling in the moment, and my anger simmered as I watched, wishing I could knock some sense into him. The first course served was an aperitif. The glasses were beautiful, but the contents were cheap liquor. They toasted and enjoyed themselves, but Tom seemed oblivious to the bland taste. Meanwhile, the president's family, though puzzled, continued to chat amiably. Then the food arrived, and panic ensued. Their table was filled with fast food, instant ramen, snack foods, bottled Coke, and canned beer. The CEO's family looked stunned, glancing around in disbelief. Tom exploded. Is this an insult? Call the owner right now, he demanded, summoning William. William and Tony approached calmly. Yes, how can we help you? William asked, maintaining composure. This was the expected turn of events, wasn't it? Tom raised his voice, drawing attention from the other guests. What's this food? Are you joking? Bring out the real dishes. I apologize, but this is the meal provided for guests staying without a reservation. Without a reservation or payment, we can't prepare other dishes, William explained. Caught off guard by being publicly outed for freeloading, Tom stammered, glancing sideways at the president's family. They were staring at him with cold, disapproving eyes. Then William delivered the final blow, addressing the CEO directly. I don't know what this gentleman told you to invite you here, but he frequently stays without paying, using his distant relation as an excuse. That would be tolerable, but he's also been posting harmful reviews on our website, damaging our business. Since he's staying for free today, we regret that this is the only meal we can offer, William said, trying to salvage the situation with a polite smile. Revealing the truth to the CEO, Tom turned pale. The CEO looked at Tom, his expression stern. Is what I just heard true? No, free stay? I never meant for something like that, Tom stammered, caught completely off guard by this unexpected twist. I've lost my appetite for dinner. I'll be leaving now, and I'll need to reconsider our future business dealings, the president announced. He stood up, ignoring Tom's desperate pleas to wait, and exited the dining area with William. Wait, please, President, it's not what it looks like, Tom protested, but his attempts to stop them fell on deaf ears. Left behind, he and his wife slumped in defeat, the weight of their failure heavy upon them. Scornful glances from other guests pierced through the air as they lingered without paying. Whispers filled the room. I can't believe it. Unforgivable. Maybe they're the ones who wrote that bad review on the website. The noise escalated, disrupting the once pleasant atmosphere. Tony and the staff moved swiftly to escort Tom and his wife out. You ruined my business entertainment. What will I do if the deal falls through? Tom shouted, his frustration echoing through the dining area. Calm down, or we'll have to call the police, Tony warned, finally silencing him. To apologize for the inconvenience, I asked the chef to prepare complimentary dishes for each guest. It was unfortunate they had to endure such unpleasantness during their stay. As the angry corporate president gathered his belongings and left, Tom followed suit, unable to protest further under the threat of police involvement. A few days later, the CEO visited Tom's company, and Tom went pale upon seeing him in his office. The other day, I wanted to discuss something with you, the corporate president said, prompting Tom to plead. Please forgive me, I'm terribly sorry. What exactly are you sorry for? The CEO inquired. I intended to entertain, but it all turned into a mess. Damn it, I told them to treat us right. You're missing the point, don't you realize you're fundamentally mistaken? Oh? You exploited your sister marrying the hotel owner's son and treated the hotel as if it were your own. Just because you're a distant relative doesn't grant you free rein to stay there and act however you please. That's unacceptable. And inviting me to that place and trying to entertain me? The owner told me you even threatened them to ensure we were treated well. I can't trust a company with employees like that. I came today to cancel all our future contracts. Tom's superiors looked on in shock. Wait, please, is this true? They asked. Every word is true. I've known the hotel for a long time, and he confided in me about a troublesome relative taking advantage of his family's establishment. I had no idea it was one of your employees until I was invited for this entertainment. What I witnessed was appalling. We're very sorry. We'll remove him from his current role. Please reconsider the business relationship, Tom's company pleaded. The CEO had been monitoring Tom's behavior at the hotel, observing how he threatened Tony and the rest. They were well aware of Tom's previous actions, as William had kept them informed. Given the circumstances, it was no surprise they decided to reconsider their business ties. Tom was demoted from his sales role and reassigned to a less critical support position with little responsibility. News of his freeloading quickly spread within the company, creating an uncomfortable work environment for him. My parents and I decided it was best to cut ties with Tom. They made him vow never to approach the hotel or our family home again and had him sign a written pledge. We also asked Tony to bill Tom for all his unpaid stays, which totaled a substantial sum. Tom pleaded for a payment plan, clearly overwhelmed by the financial burden. Meanwhile, the hotel benefited from the CEO's support. He was quite well known and praised our establishment in an interview, calling it a wonderful place. His endorsement and assurance to his contacts that the negative reviews online were unfounded attracted a wave of distinguished guests to the hotel. The contrast between the negative online reviews and the actual experience at our hotel became a hot topic, with Tom's reviews ironically drawing in more customers. Our hotel was consistently fully booked, especially on weekends. Lately, I've been helping out with accounting and managing the front office. It's all new to me, but I find it fulfilling to contribute to our guests' wonderful experiences.